Good day, viewers. Welcome to another edition of 30 Minutes, the interactive program of Trust Television. My guest today is a former governor, former president of the Nigerian Senate, and an aspirant for the position of president of Nigeria. He's aspired before, he's aspiring again. Welcome to the program, Dr. Abubakar Bukola Saraki.
Thank you, it's my pleasure.
We are very pleased to have you here.
Thank you.
And you are looking quite fresh after all the meetings. I don't know whether you politicians even manage to sleep and still keep looking so good.
We do our best to keep fit and energetic and very vibrant.
Right. And now ahead of you is another big fight, another big challenge, another big opportunity for possibly becoming president of Nigeria. You yet to formally declare, but it is clear that you are declaring. When are you going to do the formal thing?
I plan to declare end of the month, 31st of March, precisely, intend to declare. But an announcement, a formal announcement will come out and we'll have an event to formally declare my intention to run for the president of this great country.
Why are you considering that? I mean, you did it before. I mean, you didn't get the candidature. Then Atiku Abubakar got it in 2019. And here you are throwing your hat in the ring again for the second time.
I believe that Nigeria can be much better than where we are today, and should be much better. And I strongly believe in that dream of a better Nigeria. And I strongly believe I have something to offer to provide that better Nigeria. When you look at where we are as a country going in the right direction, it requires fresh leadership. You provide leadership that can offer solutions and can be able to address the challenges that Nigerians are having today.
But some will say you are part of the crowd that brought the current mess in court in Nigeria.
Yeah, people have asked me, just like you've asked me that question. In 2014, 2015, a lot of us, myself, believed passionately that the APC, then led by the president, will come with a desire, after so many years and so many attempts, with a passion to make the country better. There were three issues, you remember: the issue of insecurity, Boko Haram in the northeast,
right,
the issue of corruption, and the issue of lack of jobs and unemployment.
And it's only gotten worse.
Exactly, and we'll go ahead. And I said in 2015 when I was campaigning that I am doing this because I believe that APC will make it better. And the moment I saw that was not going to happen, we parted ways. And that's what separates me from a lot of those who are still in APC today, because they all knew that this is not what we promised Nigerians, and this is going differently, and that is why we need to be able to change that direction.
Yet when the opportunity came, that is in 2019, you in the opposition, especially in the PDP, couldn't get your act together in order to shove aside what you consider to be an incompetent government.
I'm not too sure that we didn't get our act together. The discussions will still continue about the election result. I still believe that PDP did very well and did win that election. There are many areas very questionable. I always refer people that if you look at 2019 election and you say that between Borno and Yobe, that we all know were under insurgents, there were more votes cast in Borno than in Lagos, where there was no such. But
you didn't challenge that enough.
No, we challenged in court. We didn't win, and we have to respect. I mean, at the end of the day, we went all the way to Supreme Court. We didn't win, and that has happened.
But that is not the first questionable election. You recall what happened under your own party, the PDP, when the late President Umaru Yar'Adua admitted that the election was more or less a sham, and he tried to provide some palliatives for that. Mm-hmm. So what's new? I mean, politicians just believe in winning, and that's it.
No. we must respect our electoral process. We must respect the wish of the people. That is the foundation for good governance. For as long as the electoral process is weak or is not credible, governance is an issue. So we can't just say we should accept that. But the point I'm saying is that, be that is made in 2019, yes, we did make an attempt. We were not, I think Nigerians were still ready to give the APC another chance. I think the general thinking in Nigeria was that, well, it's only 4 years. Yes, they've not kept to their promises. I'm sure it will get better in 2019 to 2023. But instead of getting better, it has got worse. I mean, on all those three levels, if you look at the issue of unemployment, today the unemployment level is in the 33%. In the youth, it's over 50%. Over 50%. It was not like that.
But many will say that actually your party laid the foundation for all these problems. You've been in power much longer than the APC or any other party.
The unemployment when we were in power was not 50%. I'll answer you and you can check the figures. The unemployment when PDP was in power was not as high as this. The insecurity when PDP was in power was just restricted to the Northeast. The insecurity now, it's Northwest with banditry. It is farmers, herdsmen clash in the North Central. It is issue of cessation in the South. So it has got worse.
But some of the issues have been there, whether it is the Niger Delta problem, whether it is the issue of secession, maybe they haven't...
Let's take it one by one.
Maybe they haven't taken guns and they are not attacking police stations.
In the Northwest, we've never had a situation that we have in the Northwest today, where there are certain parts of the country, parts of Northwest, people just cannot go.
But some of it actually has been there smoldering, and then your party then, the PDP, didn't do much. I recall a conversation with a national security advisor under the PDP where people were raising this issue of what was happening in the low-level insecurity that was largely affecting herders.
When you have voted for government, you must take responsibility.
Yes.
Let's not have a debate for the sake of a debate. Let's look at how it affects the lives of people. People who are living in Jibia, for example, in Katsina, could go freely. I drove all the way from Katsina onto Zamfara. You can do that. You can't do that now. Let me finish.
But the people of Lansado in Zamfara will counter that and say, look, we've been living with this problem for 15 years.
Not the level it is today. Not the level it is. Look, you can agree that the country, as a country, when it was defined, even by a lot of analysts, said the country, there are 4 types of countries. There are strong countries, there are weak countries, the countries where you call the failing, and the countries that are called failed states. You can argue that Nigeria might have been a weak state. But today you cannot, it has moved from a weak state to a failing. That's not debatable. And I think to be unfair on Nigerians who are going through much pain for us to be arguing those fine details. The reality is when you put yourself to vote, people to vote for you, you make promises. You say, when I become president, or when my government party forms government, will make your life better. And what we should ask ourselves is not what has been seen, is the life better? Is the life better secure-wise? Are there more people who are unemployed who are not become employed? Is the level of corruption has gone down? Is there inclusion? All those issues.
But why I'm raising this is because Nigerians who have known PDP rule and now APC are likely to ask themselves, what has changed in the PDP that I should again entrust myself to the very people who created the problem in the first place?
I totally disagree with you. When you say created the problem, there were issues at the time. The major issue, 3 major issues at that time, because we were part of the Winter campaign, was the issue of insecurity in the Northeast. It wasn't about insecurity in Nigeria. It wasn't about insecurity in Makurdi. It wasn't about insecurity in Katsina. It was insecurity in the Northeast. That was what people said, oh, this government maybe has not been able to address it. We're not happy. Fair enough. It is right for voters. Then they now tasted this government.
And what about the OPC, that's Odua People's Congress, insecurity that's induced insecurity in the Southwest for much of the first term of President Obasanjo, who was under your party, the PDP?
Even if you said there were issues in the Southwest, not at this level. I want us to be objective. And because why I'm keeping on saying objectives is that we should not politicize what people are going through. It is being patriotic and accepting. You see, nobody, when you come out and say, vote for me, you have a responsibility. It's not propaganda. And this is what the APC are good at. See, just 2 days ago, the government is saying PDP are responsible. Responsible for the queues? Responsible for when you see people's faces, when they're paying 300, they're not paying 700? Responsible for people having contaminated fuel? Take responsibility. And the point I'm making,
assuming now you are the candidate, what will you do differently?
I'll tell you what I'll do differently. Let's take the first issue of fuel. There is no way under my government that the country will continue to import 70 million liters a day consumption, because I know that it is not so. I know that this country cannot consume more than 35. I know that.
But that has been the conversation for quite a long time. Even under the PDP, they've been questions raised about
PDP. I raised it.
The issue. The consumption rate
under PDP.
Yes.
That time it was 35. It was a case where we saw a government. We wanted that government to get better, saying you're doing 35. No, it's too high. You should take it to 30. Thinking that was such an issue that had to be addressed. Now we've gone from just taking it better to 30, we are now taking it to 70. So the point I'm making is, it was right for Nigerians to demand better. It's just like in anything in life, you can say, oh, you're scoring a C credit, move your performance to B. But now we have gone to F. There's nothing, the country aspired for. So let me go back to what you said we do different. That's the first issue.
What about power, the electric power, which is another current challenge, which your own party, when Bola Ige was minister, said in 6 months it will be resolved. 20-something years after, it hasn't been. And out of those 20-something, your party was there for 16.
Fine. And a party that came in, campaigned, and said when they get in there, currently, they will make it better. 8 years now, it is still what we did. It is still the infrastructure we did on the gas sector that is helping. It's all those investments that we have done. All that needs to be addressed now is to address the bottleneck on the issue of transmission. We must address the issue of transmission and also address the form of the issues on distribution. But the point
to take on the distribution, your party privatized the distribution, the discourse, some of which are now being claimed back from Ibadan to Yola and what have you. And they haven't been efficient. You just sold it to your cronies who have not invested money and have been, the same distribution company have been taking public money, billions, hundreds of billions. I think at the last count, about 400 plus billion. And under your party and the current government.
No, you said it. You said it was sold. Let me disagree, but just agree that it was sold. Immediately it was sold.
Cronies.
I wouldn't say it was cronies. We can argue on the process.
Yes.
We can say the process is not perfect, but immediately a new government came in, having a great opportunity. Now 6.5 years. They have no obligation, even if you claim they were cronies. They have no obligation. They have the obligation now to do the right thing. Any competent administration will have sat down, said, listen, let us review this exercise. There was enough time. Even when I was Senate President, we had called for discussion that we must review this process. Look, government would take certain acts, but you're on the seat today. You can't, I don't know whether you are head of Daily Trust today. You can't continue to claim if there's no light in this institution and blame the people that started it. So, but no, you are there now. You must take responsibility. That's why you are there. That's why you were elected to be there. So my point is that we must leave issue of propaganda and go by facts. What is a fact? Have the lives of Nigerians got better? If the answer to that is no, the question then now is, how do we move forward?
So now, we will find ways of moving forward after this short break.
I'll be ready to take you. Thank you.
Viewers, we are going on a short break and we'll continue with the discussion with the former Senate President of Nigeria, former Governor of Kwara State, Dr. Bukola Saraki. Dr. Saraki, before we went on this short break, you were enunciating some of what you could do if you are to get elected.
Let me address
become the president.
Let me address. These are the things that are not difficult. When I was Senate president, in 2016, we had resolved this issue of fuel subsidy. Then I was Senate president. I was a minister of state. We had been able to get ourselves out of subsidy. So today, even this amount, over 3 trillion, that we're unlikely going to go to 5 trillion, will not have been necessary. And that will provide more money for infrastructure. We'll make sure that we do not consume the level that we're consuming. That's number one. Number two is that we've got to also address the issue of investment, because we've got to ensure that there's macroeconomic stability. You see, people keep on asking, why is government borrowing so much money? The problem is that there's lack of confidence in investment in Nigeria, whether it's Nigerians bringing money in or foreigners bringing money in. And that has to change. Government is only 13% of GDP. Government alone cannot transform this country until there is investment coming in. I believe that it needs a different type of leadership, somebody that understands the private sector and bring that confidence. We must ensure that we focus on areas that are important to us. Agriculture is something I've done before being a governor in Kwara State. Today, you talk about commercial farming today in Nigeria. That was the model way back over 15 years ago.
But why is it that this very model that you are trumpeting, and even on your, internet page, I saw it as one of your major achievements.
Yes.
But the current government is saying that it appears like money was thrown to private sector people with very little outcome.
No, you see, what do you mean by very little outcome? Have they created jobs? Have they increased production? Today, the poultry farm there is one of the largest in the country today. It has got foreign investment from South Africa, not government.
Of how much? Because they are saying that they didn't see any foreign investment. What they have seen is Kwara State government under your leadership taking money and putting into private pockets, kind of.
No, not private. When you facilitate as government, you're meant to facilitate. This was anywhere in Nigeria. Land that has been cultivated, hectares. We provided the enabling environment, put part of government money in to bring people in. Today, they've paid off that off. The investment they've brought is more than what Kwara State. And Kwara State government is even a shareholder. One of the farms is probably worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Every Kwara State government has a share in it. Look,
but it appears Kwara State government is not too happy with it, probably because it's not getting any dividend out of it, and I'm not sure about even the numbers and the scale of the operation, because this seems to suggest that actually a lot of it has been overhyped and the benefits are very little.
It's not true. You see, we must be cerebral and talk about the issues that affect our people. The point I was making about commercial farming is that when I was a governor, or many years ago, agriculture was in just on small scale level. The whole strategy of model was on small scale farming. But what you begin to see now is not just foreigners. You've seen the likes of Dangote, you've seen the likes of flour mills going into large scale farming. And that was the point I was driving when I was a governor. I realized that...
But some will say at a very high cost to the state.
It's not high cost because the state is benefiting from it today. But that is a model that will take us, increase our agricultural production. Our agricultural production as a country will only grow when there's mass agriculture, mass level farming. One, the yield per hectare. Look, your typical farmer in Nigeria, all over Nigeria, probably is in his late 50s. His level of education, most of them didn't go to university. Can they walk into a bank and get loan? Probably not. So you can see their yield is so low. Do they have the best access to best tech? No, they don't. Now then compare that to a big conglomerate like Dangote, or a big conglomerate like, look at the rice mills that have come out now. They're not owned by small farmers. They're businessmen. The point I'm making is that the moment you begin to see, and that's what you're seeing today, you're seeing people who normally would not have invested in agriculture now going to agriculture. Now, as they grow, they will pull the small scale. That's why you have this outgrower scheme. That is the model that is working. Where did this model start in Nigeria? It started in Kwara way back when I was a governor in 2003.
But before your own model, actually, there was the other model, the one from Cotonou, the one by the Reverend Father from Benin, city, who is actually based in Cotonou, is called, I know a number of states in Delta, in Katsina, who have embraced that model, and it's a bit predated the one on Kwara.
The point I'm making
is the Songhai model.
What is working
farm
now
model
is that is the sector, and for us to grow in agriculture, we must see large-scale farming. That is what needs to grow, and once we do that, we will see increased production in the agricultural sector. That will create. Look at inflation now. Inflation is high now because of food production has reduced, and you can only reduce inflation when you increase food production. And you can only improve production when you truly understand the agri sector.
So again, to take you back to what you could do as president,
Sure.
What about security? What will you do differently? Because tons of money, in hundreds of millions, if not billions, of any currency have been thrown at the problem, and it just seems to be growing.
Well, definitely what I'll do, there will be better accountability. There is no doubt that the accountability level has a lot to be desired. And that is number one. Then two, people must be held responsible. You must improve the morale of men in uniform to ensure what needs to be done. We must bring in technology. It is embarrassing. In today's world, a country like Nigeria, we're still battling things like kidnapping. Because this technology allows us today to be, and when you talk to people, they tell you the intelligence is there. There's something wrong somewhere. And that is where I say,
could it be corruption or what?
Well, I would like to guess that maybe it has become everybody's profiting in it, and as such, people. But I know, and those who have worked with me know that I would definitely ensure people are accountable, and I have never been able to. I never shy away challenges. I am bold and courageous to go and find to the bottom of this, because it is not acceptable, and it will not be acceptable in our government. We must, once we can bring in significant technology, ensure that there is leadership and accountable leadership, and ensure that we plug all the holes where people can be able to do this. I am very confident that let's even talk about security. Let's go to the Niger Delta. Today, the highest level of theft going on today. Even the private operators are the ones saying it, not politicians, saying that the level of theft today is close to 500,000 barrels. That is actual stolen and what has to be shut down. It was never like this. The question I now ask you, this oil cannot walk. It must be carried by barges or something. Today's world of technology, you can sit here. So there is something wrong. There's level of accountability, and sincerity is not there. Now, I can assure you, for someone who has always been strong to take on challenges, I will be able to confront this head on, because this is necessary for us to be able to. And when you talk about PDP, it was in the time of Yaradua, if you remember, that brought down stability and brought Christ. There was this level of theft in those days. He resolved it before now we have this problem today. Today now, the level of crude oil that has been stolen is even, you can see even governments accepting the fact that something needs to be done.
But the other area of theft or alleged theft is to do with some of the things that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission is dealing with. Yeah. And many people seem to be saying, maybe behind your backs as the big politicians, that look, anybody with case in the EFCC, why should he be offering himself to be president again?
I think we all work in a system where people must be assumed innocent before you come to conclusions. If anybody has been found, convicted, or this, the laws are very clear. But we have seen in the past, and many of us have been victims of this kind of persecution. I am a good example. My only offense in 2015 was because I became Senate President. Immediately
before that, your case was never in the EFCC.
But when I finished as governor, in my last months as governor, the former chairman of the EFCC went to the floor of the Senate and said there were 6 states that he can say have clean bill of health. My state was one of that. I became a senator. I was never.
So probably the investigation hasn't been concluded then.
Why would you say it hasn't been? Why wouldn't you say it has been? He's a responsible chairman. He will not go to the floor, meaning that he was satisfied with the books of the. I became a senator. I was not invited to the EFCC within my 1 month of my stay, because if they had been concluded, as you say, or there was something, maybe it was my immunity, but clearly they could have asked me. I was never invited. The only time I was invited first into EFCC was after I passed a bill on fuel subsidy. All my cases have always been politically related. Anytime I take a position to stand for what I believe in, the next thing I face it.
So, do you see it as a problem? I mean, this EFCC case, do you see it as a drawback?
I think that the EFCC, the intention is good. But unfortunately, in the past, maybe not all, the wrong type of people have led the place.
But what I'm saying is, in your own specific case, which the EFCC is going on with, do you see it as a problem for your ambition?
I don't see it as
for your political career.
I've been to court. I've had about 6 cases. I've won all my cases. All the cases are all the same cases, and I'm confident. And so I don't see that. If you go and look at my antecedents, I've always fought to see how do we plug loopholes and prevent leakages in this country. And every time I take those strong positions, I strongly believe, as I've said again, an issue of fight against corruption. I have my own views. When I become president, is we must ensure that we spend a lot of resources also in preventing corruption. You see, that is so important, because the rest is a burden. The system will not. What we need to do is ensure that we stop all the possibilities and plug all the holes and ensure that, for example, the Bureau of Public Procurement, we need to see how are these contracts awarded. Because let me ask you, what a lot of people don't know is that over the last 2 years, this government has been able to make a high percentage of releases. In the past, you remember people, even in time of PDP, I will admit, the percentage of actual release to budget has been low. But under the last 2 years, I must commend APC for that. But then you ask yourself, why have we not seen the impact of these releases? That will tell you that the value of money must be very low. Because if the value of money means that the quality of work that you are getting, there must be serious problem. Before you blame that, okay, releases were not there. But here you are seeing releases, yet you are not seeing most of the jobs they talk about today. Whether you took yesterday, I saw the government commission airport.
Yes,
it's a PDP project. Railway is a PDP project. They are boasting they will soon do second.
But all completed by APC.
They are PDP. But when you say PDP misrule, these are projects that today
they started but couldn't finish. That's another way of putting it. But let's move on. You come from a big political family.
Yes.
Your dad was Senate leader in the Second Republic.
Yes.
And then you became a governor and then senator. Your sister was also a senator. But then in the 2015 election, this Otoge movement... 2019 election, the Otoge movement swept you up. What happened? What lessons have you learned from that going forward?
Well, a number of lessons. First of all, you use the wrong word, swept. I think there were many factors there.
Yeah, but you lost the Senate.
Yes, I'm not.
I mean, by over 50-something thousand.
That's why I'm answering the question.
Yes.
There are a lot of factors there. Factor number one that we must acknowledge is that it was not just an election that was decided by local issues. We have to accept that. Even on the day of elections inquiry, we've never seen it before. There were fighter jets parked. The level of security.
I thought you are referring to the Buhari tornado that may have also helped to sweep you up.
No, I'm just telling you that there were fighters. So there were issues outside the state, but also within the state, right? There were a lot of propaganda, and people felt that, and it's normal, 30, 40 years of leadership in any democracy, people will sometimes say, look, we want something different.
Dr. Abubakar Bukola Saraki, thank you for being our guest on
my pleasure.
This show.
Thank you so much.
Viewers, we've come to the end of this edition of 30 Minutes. Keep a date with us.